Hey, we're back, regular viewers. So today's video is going to be adventures in air dry clay. I got this for Christmas from the regular editor and the regular assistants, and some popsicle sticks here. I didn't get these for Christmas. I stole these from my children's art supplies. But this is what we're going to use to make our creation today. In fact, I've already made it. Ta-da! Isn't that exciting? Can't tell what it is, right? So this is going to be a top pour injection mold, right? You heard it right. So we're going to have a top pour aspect of it, and there's going to be I guess, an injectable aspect of it. We're going to create the bait out of air dry clay, which is what I've already done here. And this is just a basic fish pattern. I'm into the shad business. I got my mega shad. I have my monster shad. I have my ridiculous shad. I have my super shad. So my regular assistant wanted me to make an ultra shad, and that's what this is here. This is a basic paddle tail or top pour fish design. It's not super duper, but the part that we're experimenting with today is we are going to make interchangeable tails for it. Interchangeable boot tail and a wedge tail. And of course, always the restriction with the top pour mold, right, is the plane of the top of the Made in America of the mold, right? Things can't stick out of it because you can't top pour up, but you can inject and make, a multi-dimensional shape, which will in this case be this wedge tail, which is what we're going to try today. And then you can make a part of that wedge tail, which is what we've done here, right? So that it's in plane with this. And then when the mold is set, or correction, when the mold is made, I'm going to inject this tail, have that ready to go, and that's going to sit in the mold, and it's of course going to stick up. And then when I top pour the plastic over it, it'll encompass it into it and hold it there, so that it will be a top pour here, so we can have all our pretty layers if we want to do that. Just like we've learned on the World's Worst Fishing. And then the tail, which can be a separate color if we want, like we can do a nice bright chartreuse tail, which is something that I would probably like. And that will be its own animal sticking up and above the bait right here. So that's what we're going to try to work on today. See if that's worth the trouble, worth the time. So the air dry clay, I made a frame out of popsicle sticks, and it kind of retreated from it here. So I'm just going to fill in this gap quickly with some super glue and baking soda, just so that the plaster doesn't make too much of a mess of it. You can see it kind of cracked along that edge. This is, like I said, it's just a simple shape that I made quickly just to see if this would work. And then I coated this in some polyurethane so that it would have a gloss coating on it, again, so that it wouldn't stick to the plaster of Paris. So let's get busy on that. Okay, so I've got this filled in mostly, and I'm just going to sand it down a little bit to take off those rough spots. This is just, like I said, this is an experiment in a couple things. It's also an experiment with this air dry clay. My family thought that that would be a fun thing for me to make lures out of. Never used it before. It's working. It is not a perfect medium so far to make lures in, because I've had a lot of trouble with it cracking, but it is very inexpensive. And it does get the job done. You have to just be a little patient with it and think about the limitations of this. There are always better things to make lures out of, but what we are trying to do here on Regular Guy Lures is find stuff that is quick dirty, and cheap, right? So there's always a better way, sometimes a more expensive way and a more time-consuming way. But if you work for a living and making lures is just a hobby you can only do, and you want to get out there and make things for yourself and try to see if they'll catch fish, that's what we're trying to do here on the Regular Guy Lures. So I appreciate everybody who has liked, commented, and subscribed, and I appreciate all the comments, all the advice, all the encouragement. It's a blessing to me, and it keeps me going. It keeps my family interested and participating. I want you to note the safety gloves today. I always try to use the safety gloves when I'm using the baking soda and super glue because it will stick to you. Wait, that was kind of a rhyme for free. But again, if we could, in a perfect world, we would always be using the most appropriate and best materials. But what we're trying to do is find the cheapest way to get the results we want for the shortest amount of money. So the air dry clay is checking that box as far as being usable and inexpensive. Like I said, I am finding its limitations, but that's part of the fun here. So you saw that I made those other lures out of mostly carved there. The super shad was some more other kind of oil-based clay that I used just playing with my kids. I believe they got it from from one of their classes or something like that. But yeah, but I mean, this is going to be a usable shape. This will be a usable top pour mold here. So like I said, I'm going to clean this up now and just kind of sand this down, just get it ready for the mold. So let me clean up this area here, and we'll be right back. Okay, so again, all I was doing was filling in these cavities here from the air dry clay retreating. And looks like we got a pretty symmetrical shape. Not perfect, but we got our half a wedge tail on here. And again, that's going to go in our Made in America mold, like so. It's going to be all the way to the top. And, we're going to use our favorite Plaster of Paris. So I'm going to give this one more coat of polyurethane just to make it extra slickery. And while that's drying, we're going to start making the mold for the entire wedge tail. In fact, I should probably show you that. So this is the wedge tail that I made here. So it's going to be injected probably in this direction here, and then this shape from this wood. So I was experiencing some technical difficulties here, but what I was trying to explain is that once this tail was out of the mold that it was injected in, you would just set it in the top pour mold, and then you'd be able to pour the hot plastic around it, and it would become part of the top pour fish, and it would have its 3D wedge tail, I guess, more than just the singular plane of the top pour mold. It'll stay at that temperature, and as the mold slowly cools, it'll cure to this, and we won't have any cold cracking. And we will hopefully have a topped pour, injected tailed fish that will swim. And if we can make this work right, we'll experiment with different tails and different sizes and see if we can't do something special. So the other thing I was thinking is, if this does work, possibly we could have a modular section of the rear of the mold where you... So that way, if you wanted to have a boot style tail or a curly tail, something like that, you could experiment with different things on the back of it there. So it would be a modular top pour mold with whatever kind of tail you wanted on the back of it, anything that your heart could desire. Okay, we've got our mold set up with our little coffer dam here so that we can make it different sizes. This one is going to be a little tight on either side. Ideally, this should be a skosh wider, but we will make do. Again, this is just an experimental phase. And this is our injector sprue, which is going to go right there. So we've got our mold. I have my petroleum jelly all slathered around here so that it releases when it's supposed to. New petroleum jelly for a new year. Thank you, regular editor, for that. And now everyone's favorite. You know him, you love him, Dat Plaster of Paris. That's right, a star of the show here. So let's get going on mixing that guy up. In our well-ventilated shop. All right, so I'm going to get these bubbles out, let that set up just a little bit, and then I will put my stuff in here. All right. So again, thank you to the viewers that told me about using a brush to brush off our bubbles. Works excellently. Look at that. It's just that easy. Okay. For some reason I brushed them to that side of it, but no, they're all popped. So put our sprue in first. And we've got our tail, our wedge tail here with its little hang-on piece. Hands are extra shaky. That helps. Okay, that wasn't good because I smushed it down into this soup, which is why it's not a bad idea to have a cup of water handy to rinse that guy off and do it again. I should have used the pliers to begin with, and it's like reverse operation. There we go. We just want it to sit right atop that stuff right there. Square it up nicely. Good. Much better looking. That's way more professional, regular guy. And we'll put one locator in there. I don't think there's room for two. So, sad. Not room for two. Okay. So we'll just let that set up. And we'll pour the other side while we're waiting on the other one to dry. Multi-step process, people. The tail has set up in the plaster. So we'll get this out of there. Going to use non-stick cooking spray to do this side of the mold as our mold release. People have told me to use a hair dryer instead of the heat gun for this, but I don't have a hair dryer. I have a heat gun. So I'm using a heat gun for this side of it. It's okay. It'll be all right. We're not going to sweat the small stuff. All right. But I want a nice layer of that cooking spray in there. Look at that. See, that takes the bubbles right out. Worry not, people. Worry not. Trying to get it down. There's a little hole in that one side. Beautiful. Now, I know I didn't get into the nitty-gritty details of making this mold and shaping it and the air dry, using the frame of the popsicle sticks and yada, 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 and it's clay and all that business. This one is more of a proof of concept than a how did we get there situation. This is not about my Leonardo-esque sculpting abilities, and I don't mean the Ninja Turtle or the actor, for you regular history buffs out there. Again, making way too much because we're working on another project off camera as well. Multitasking. All right, we're going to let that set up, and that way we can finish the other. We do need this mold box to do the rest of it, and yeah, so that's why this has to get done right away. And then we can try to start our process of injecting and top pouring all at once. That went pretty swimmingly. Like I said, we got a little too close on this side. I knew that was going to happen, but we're going to be able to block that off. I'll probably put something there. Maybe I'll try to fill it with baking soda and super glue like I've threatened in the past. But This needs to dry a little bit before we can use it, but that's fine. We got plenty of time because we need to work on the, I don't know what I'm pointing at, the piece that was drying over there. So all in all, pretty good demold. So we've got our detail for that. I'm going to carve out these areas right here so that the plastic can get down in it. Like I said, I'm just going to wall off that little section right there. But I will let these harden so they are a little more easy to work with, user friendly. But pretty nice. Microphone died on the last one there, so I don't know what I did or did not say. Sounds like I'm testifying before Congress with a sentence like that. I have no recollection of that, Senator. Okay, let's get our project. Okay, here we go. Nice and a slickery. So places like this, if you guys haven't done one of these before, looks like this fin bent over on me. So this fin may not make it into the final fish, because if it is, it may make it swim this way too much. But places like this are like where your air bubbles are going to get stuck in these things. You can see we can kind of get them to come up. You'll never get them all to come up. I've used an air compressor in the past, but I'm enjoying the simplicity of this brush. This is a fairly heavy piece, so we have to be careful how we put it in there because we don't want it to sink in too low. That's pretty much right where I want it. Hopefully I believe this is set up enough. I'll just throw that into oblivion. I believe this is set up enough that it's not going to go anywhere. Okay, cool. We'll let that set, and then we'll pour the other half. Okay, this side's hard, so we got to make our plaster for the other side. I'm gonna have my regular assistant stir that up for me. Don't put your face over that. For all the dust, you don't want to breathe it.
Yes, sir.
We should add some petroleum jelly right there to fill in that gap, or else the plaster will get over there just to save it from going in that crack. It works really well for that. Okay, so we're gonna just kind of like caulking. Just put it down in there so it keeps the plaster from falling in that side. We'll let that set up, and then tomorrow we will demold it. All right?
I am excited.
All right, let's take this out of the mold.
All right. Made in America.
All right, now we'll let these dry a little bit so that we can start our pouring process. Good job. Okay, guys, we're back. I've got the molds. They're all demolded. I just got them sitting on our griddle here. We're cooking them up at, what is that, 250? Not a specific because of any reason temperature, but I'm just trying to dry them out further and just let them set on there. I don't know if you can see the steam coming off of them. That's not smoke, that's steam, that's moisture coming out of those molds. So you can pour them still right now, but it helps harden them so that they're less brittle. But this guy right here, we're going to have to take this off because we need to carve out this little bit of channel on either side so that we can pour the tail, and we'll start with that while these guys heat up so that we can pour the layers for that. But we need the tail first so that the tail can sit in here as our mold is set up. So let's get going on that.
We're back.
Oh, much cleaner. Thank you. Okay, so we've got this guy hot off the the presses, or the griddle in this case. And we're just going to use a little razor blade here, and we're just cutting out a little channel so that we can inject that plastisol down into it. Not much more than that. We still want to try to maintain that shape that we have here. This probably wouldn't be if it was bigger, it could probably pour the plastic in. But where it's such a narrow cavity, definitely going to have to be injected. Or at least that's my professional opinion. Tried to plug the hole over here with a little bit of plaster, so we'll see how that works. And hopefully it'll hold just fine. We do need to check and see if the injector is going to fit. Yep. Kind of just mash it in there, push it around a little bit, just make sure that it's going to accept that hole. And while I'm heating my plastic up for the tail, I'm going to just let this thing continue to cook. But that should be a big enough hole to inject through, so we should be just fine with that. All right, we're going to pour this tail. We've applied our cooking spray and plastic.
This is interesting.
Stand back, please.
Yes, sir. Ooh, I think we darn used that.
Well, we'll see if that mold works. First shot. You never know. Okay, it's always nerve-wracking seeing if the first time in a mold worked. So let's see if we got a tail in here. We do have a lot of flashing, and through that flashing, I do see a tail. Okay, so I don't have to press down quite so hard, but it worked. And it looks like we got ourselves a nice little wedge tail. So I'm going to try that again, let that cool, and then we'll cut it out and we'll put it over there. Not bad for a first run. That plugged work down the bottom. I'm very happy about that. So it's not leaking. So let me get that plastic ready. So it does appear that this tail is going to fit in our mold like that. So I hope you guys see the vision now. Apparently this mold isn't perfectly square because it's got a lump on this side. But see how that's set up in there? So now when we pour our plastic, it's going to get encompassed in there. And as it heats, it's going to hopefully become part of it. We'll see. So let's get this mold ready. We need to apply a generous layer. I am overspraying this. Plaster is pretty dry and it might kind of drink the stuff in. Helps, guy, if you put the tail in the mold. Okay.
Looks good.
So we are going to clamp this dog. I'm sorry. This mold.
Why do you say that?
I don't know. Just vernacular. Okay. Okay, now that it's clamped in, again, we're going to spray
a generous amount.
And we're going to let this get warm again and start making the colors for this fish. Okay, we're going to start our layering here. So this is a silver down in the belly. Good, stop it right there. Okay, so we've got our little center line made up. So we're going to make that purple. All I want of that. And now we got to make up this color right here, the back color, and that's like a dark gray. So report some tragedy to you here. Our microwave just blew up on us. Well, burned out, I guess. And so my top color here, this gray color, I'm going to show them the gray color, is not ready to go, and it's not fully mixed, and it looks like a whole bunch of chunks of, well, doesn't matter what it looks like. What it looks like is it's not ready. So long story short is we can't finish this lure with a 3-color pattern. So we have the purple still hot, and we're going to have to use that to finish our project here. So we'll just finish pouring it with purple, and it'll be a silver purple chartreuse fish like you find in nature all the time. Sorry, I had to re-grip that. It was burning through the gloves, and my hand was burning. Sorry for that. Unprofessionalism there. I think that's as far back as we're going to go. I don't know if I want it to go back any further than that, but you can kind of see it setting into the tail. So I don't know. Well, I think it's going to go down into the tail further than we wanted. But proof of concept, we'll see if it attaches to it. So, all right, we'll be back. Okay, here it is off the hot plate. It let it cool, and there is our lure. Not too bad. So we can see right here. I'll show you the ugly. It's not adhered right there, but it is down in that. That is all together right there. So out of these plaster molds, before I have clear coated them with the polyurethane, I'll take a heat gun, run it over it like this, just to kind of pretty it up a little bit. But also, if you clear dip it, if you want to add some flair to it, clear dip it. But again, this is like not a show mold. This is a first try mold, and that's not a bad fish right there. It's got everything I wanted and nothing I don't. So it's just got to see. I just have to. I can't speak. That wasn't English. Let me start over. Now I just have to see if it's going to swim nice. So, but yeah, you just take this heat gun. And yeah, we only got two-tone. I did want just a purple kind of lateral line and then a darker top. But my microwave, gave up the ghost, as it were. And I shut this down so I could focus on that and this back tail here. So that's something to pay attention to. Probably would have been better if I had my colors ready to go. So a little bit of pre-planning so that this was really hot or warmer when I put it in. That way it probably would have adhered a little better. Like I said, it did adhere right down in there where this stuff was. And I don't know why I just touched that because it's hot. But just the back here where it kind of sloshed over it, you can see right there that it didn't adhere to the tail. So that is cold cracking. But yes, none up here, in that piece and there where the tail comes through, if you guys can see that there. So it is perfectly bonded there. It's just this area didn't heat up enough, I guess. So, but I was trying to rush to see if this would even work. And it is a work night, so I do have to get to bed so that I can get to work at the regular time. But all in all, looks like it did work. So the proof of concept will be now if I can get over to my neighbor's pool here and see if I can't make this thing swim and see if our wedge tail works. So yeah, that's the cold cracking part, but it only goes to right there. So this will work. And it's just getting used to this top pour mold. I'm no expert. I'm no world's worst fishing. I just apparently make the world's worst lures here. So just kidding. That was satire. They're just ugly. But another thought I had while I was making this mold is if this tail fin affects the left and rightness, if it kind of wants to tip, I can actually make that out of another popsicle stick and slide it in there and then make a hook slot with that. So I'm going to let this guy cool all the way and stop putting fingerprints on it because I just heated it up. And next time you see it, hopefully it'll be swimming around a pool. All right, guys, thank you. Pause it, and it swims very nicely. It's a great weight. The wedge tail gets a perfect disturbance right on the surface, just like we wanted. That wedge tail makes a great wake bait too. Look at that. We're back, regular viewers. I've got my molds heating up here, ready for round two. Try it again and learn some stuff since last night. And got my plastic warm. I'm trying to keep it hot here, or warm rather, on the this thing griddle there until it's ready to pour. But if you come over here, my regular editor got me a lovely new microwave because the one last night burned up on me. It was just too much for it to handle. So I'm heating up these two colors right now to try and make a special colored lure for my son. He likes the Santa Fe War Bonnet engine. So we're doing those colors for him. And I'll show you when we start pouring. Okay, so here's my second tail. And this one came out a lot better. I thought I was going to have flashing with it. Luckily, we didn't, though. So I'm going to put it back on the griddle to keep this mold hot and the tail a little warmer, so I can put it all together and pour it all at once. Keep that plastic warm. Okay, get that on the griddle. It's going to smell like pancakes here. 1 second.
It already does.
Okay. Which means pancakes smell like cooking spray, apparently. Okay, let's put our tail in the mold.
Yep, and there's our perfectly molded tail.
Come on out. Come on out. Don't be scared. Okay.
There we go.
There we go. Pull this piece off. Put that over there for now.
And we'll put our tail.
Okay.
Look at that.
Hot.
Hot, 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 hot.
Should use gloves. Use safety gloves.
Yes. Pro tip. Use safety gloves.
I need to get this moved around in there.
Fun.
Okay. We had some tragedy here. I was trying to use a heavier clamp and it cracked the mold, but it should still do its job here. We may have to build another mold, but this again was a proof of concept situation. Okay, we got that one in. So we're going to do silver, red, and then not quite yellow, but yellow enough, right?
Yep, yellow enough.
Keep that stuff warm.
The regular yellow.
Yep. All right. So let's let that set a second, then we'll put the red on.
One.
Okay, I'm going to run this on here just to kind of loosen that plastic up on top again. And there's some bubbles we want to melt. And this is how I got rid of the cold cracking that was in the tail of the first lure there. Okay, let's pour a little bit of red lateral line. I want it to go back that away. Now let that settle in, and then we'll do the yellow or chartreuse next. Okay, let's pour the final layer here. Does that look like a war bonnet to you?
Oh, yep.
Okay, you're gonna use this one.
Yep, I definitely use it whenever the time comes.
Okay.
It's going down near the tail there.
All right. We'll be back when it's done. Okay, regular viewers, we're back. So we've got our fish here. Unfortunately, the mold, no, that's not it. These two cracks occurred here. So this mold did not make it, but that's okay. Plaster of Paris is cheap enough, even for me, that I'm not worried. I can make another one because I still have my mold master. So let's see what we got here. This mold was acting a little funny, probably because of the big gashes in it. This fish appears to be a little warm still. Okay, but we did get it. We don't have cold cracking. That's good. It's an interesting color, that's for sure. Put a lot of cooking spray on this one, but it still seems to be sticking a little bit. Good because our fish isn't fully cured. A lot of problems. A lot of problems with this one. There we go. That part came out okay. It's kind of mounted on its own little chunk there. Yeah, I still gotta let this part cool, I think, maybe. I don't know. I can get it off. See where it's kind of stuck to that edge. There we go. There we go. Whammo. Got it. Okay. And we just put that back together like a puzzle. But there's our fish. It's dirty, but I can clean it up. The tail worked. So I fixed the cold cracking in yesterday's lure. Yeah, I got a little crack there from just tearing it out of the mold, I think. And that's probably the crack that was in the mold. But I can fix that with a heat gun, so it's not lost. And that's a, yeah, I could try to pull this piece off. That's another crack in that mold right there. So, broken pieces, non-broken pieces. Okay, here's our fish. We got a piece of, this was a bad example, people, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. This is still a salvageable lure. There's a lot of plastic here, so you just don't want to toss something like this away. But we can take a heat gun to it, but we got a nice wedge tail, and it's adhered very well. Let me fix this crack real quick. We got our friend heat gun over here. There we go. Right back together. And it gives it a nice little shine and shimmer. The petroleum jelly might have worked a little better for a mold release on this guy rather than the cooking spray. It seemed that the cooking spray didn't like how dry this mold was, and it kept getting sucked up into it. I don't know if that's what one of my problems was. One of the many problems I had with this guy. Starting to look a little bit better. This is unfortunately that crack. See if we can erase that a little bit without damaging the fish too much. Put a nice silver eye on it. Bring it to life. But all in all, the proof of concept works. So I can make a top pour, multi-layer mold with an injected tail. This isn't great looking. It's kind of an ugly looking little guy. It's a pattern my son wanted. And then there was that tragedy with the mold. And but I still was able to get this fish out of it, and it will still work. But thank you for joining me here, guys. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, I'm going to keep trying to work on this technique, get it a little bit better, see if I can make some more intricate fish, probably something a little smaller, and that way I won't have so much trouble with the mold. It won't have to be quite so much energy to get it hot and all that other stuff. But all in all, I would call this one a success. I was able to do it. I was able to get an top pour mold with an injected tail. Modeled it out of air clay that my family got me for Christmas. So thank you again to them. And I'm sure we'll have plenty of adventures with that stuff going forward. So thank you for tuning in this week, guys. And you stay regular. And here's the mag draft. How much?
$18.
How many do you get?
You only get one of them.
Look at this.
$15 for 2 lures?
Is that a lot of money?
Yeah, it's a lot of bucks.
Don't forget!
Hey, what are you kids doing?